hairs on the colors more better than the other way.
Yeah. Okay.
It's perfectly. Before it used to be, half into this letter, that letter, but now it comes down in straight lines. Okay.
Is the angle good? Angle is good. Okay.
Yeah.
So welcome. Good morning. La'an Lamed with Beis, and we spoke about Lo Saseh, that in general, women are chayv in all negative commandments, even if it's time bound, and 3 exceptions that it says in the Mishnah: Lo Sakir, the Peyos and beer, and also Kohenes is mutter to become Tamei Lameis. And the Gemara before brought the Rosh speech one. So that Mishnah says 3 exceptions, and now we're on the second white line. Lamed with Beis Tani, Isi Tani, Afal Yikruchu Nashim Peturos. Another exception to the rule that the Mishnah didn't say. Isi said over a brisa that Bal Yikruchu Karchol B'Rosham, that it's usher to make a bald spot to take out here the mace when a person is grieving over a dead, so he's not allowed to pull out his hair. And here he says that women are not included in that issur. Women wouldn't be included in that issur. And the whole more now for an Omer is going to be, what's the source? Where does he get it from that women are not included? We had Peyos and Hashchas Zakan and Bal Tamal and Mason. And now he says a 4th one is also like Karchol.
What they say, there should be in there.
That's what we're saying. It's an exception. That's what we're talking about. That there are 3 exceptions in the Mishnah, and he says over another exception. And now the whole Gemara goes to say, where does he get it from? My time of the easy. So the Gemara is going to have a few possibilities, 3, I think, and this is the first one. Where does he get it from? The Dor Shachi has the following drasha. It says in the pasuk, "When Atam Lashem Olokechem, Los go to do, Los Sim Korcha Ben Yenechem Lameis, Kiyam Kadosh Atal Lashem Olokechem." Just maybe that's the whole pasuk already. Let's just see if we could find. Here it is. Okay, the pasuk really is over here. Then it continues into the next pasuk. Here it says, like it says in the "When Atam Lashem Olokechem," you are children, you are sons to Hashem your God. Let's go to do. Let's go to do. They talk about making cuts in your skin, and don't make a bald spot between your eyes, which means on the forehead, on the head. Of course, it has to have hair over there, so it's not on the forehead because there's no hair. But it means the same way we say by tefillin, that it means on the head where there is hair. So this is the end of the pasuk, but then it continues. Kiam kadosh Hashem Hashem Elokecha, and that's what the Gemara brings down the end of the pasuk also. Kiam kadosh Hashem Elokecha. So far he doesn't need that part. He does says Banav Atam Hashem Elokechem, and it says those Sisim Korcha Ben Yenechem Lameis, and the Rosh is going to be Banim v'lo Banos. Since it says Banim, so that's the Rosh to say only sons and not daughters. That this pasuk that's referring to making a korcha, so it says only referring to the men, not to the women. But that's very strange drasha because he skipped a couple of words. It says Los go to do, and Los go to do. He doesn't say it's an exception. He says women are also included in this. So Los go to do. That's very strange. He skips. And then he says Los that's the exception. That's what it's saying. Men. Men is by the Israel Los Simu Korcha. But Los go to do. He doesn't say that. So that's the Gemara. That's what it continues. Do you say that it's only referring to Korcha? That it's only for the men? And it's not referring to Los go to do. Maybe it's also referring to Los go to do. If anything, it goes on everything. The skip is very strange. So if it says only for men, so it should say Los go to do, and also Los simu korcha. But it should have said that Los go to do is also. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's also going to be and only for men. The answer is Kishu Omer Kiam Kadosh Atal Hashem Elokecha Harei Gedida Amo. So Yidashins is very strange. Yidashins, let's do a different color. He says that the Los go to do. He's going to go to the end of the pasuk. Kiam kadosh Hashem Elokecha. So he skips. His mamish is strange. Let's just finish over there. Over here also, the mace goes on this. So he's strange. Mamish does surgery on the pasuk. He says the pasuk abundant that says only men is referring to Los Simu Korcha, and when it says Los go to do, that's referring to the end of the pasuk. Kiam kadosh Atah, you're a holy nation, and the nation includes women also. So there he says that Los go to do includes women also. That's very strange. Why does he switch around the pasuk? When it says Kiam Kadosh Atal Hashem Elokecha, which means even women, there it says women are chayiv. So when does the pasuk say Banim v'lo Banos? L'korcha. So very strange. The one last explain how is he going to do that? How come he decided? What do you see to say that women are included in the Isra of Gedida and they're excluded from the Isra of Korcha? What's that all about? מה בניאס הגדידה שיש לה במקום הסתר, ושלא במקום הסתר, ומוציא הניאס הכורחה שאין לה במקום הסתר. So very interesting. He does say a svara. He does say a svara. The pasuk has both. The pasuk on the one hand, the pasuk says bonim means only men. On the other hand, it says kam kodesh, which means also women. So you have to divide the pasuk somehow. So he says that more mustaber, more reasonable to say that the exclusion is going on korcha and the inclusion is going on losas godudu. And he says the reason is because losas godudu is a more broad issa because it applies both in the place where there's hair and no hair, making a cut. And if someone makes a cut, even in a place where there's hair, makes a cut in the skin, so but then the issue of korcha only applies to hair because that's the pasuk, that's what it is to pull out his hair. So that only applies to some more narrow kind of a mitzvah, issa. So that's where the women are going to be excluded. But now the Gemara asks a simple question. Okay, so you have a svara, but we'd rather say that everything is referring only to men. The whole pasuk is referring to men. Now, and it's very hard to jump over to say, to skip over losses go to do. Let's try to make that losses go to do is also only for men, not for women. But you have the pasuk at the end of the pasuk that says women also. Kiam kadosh atah says women also. Let's find something to slap that onto. Maybe say this whole pasuk is talking about only men. The pasuk that says that something does include women, that it says maybe that's referring to another pasuk, which it doesn't say over here. It says you shouldn't make a scratch. There's another pasuk to say also on a mace to scratch oneself in grief over a dead relative. So maybe that's referring to women also. The pasuk that says Kiam Kadosh Atah to include women, maybe that's referring to the third issue. So we have three isurim. One is korcha, one is gedida, one is korcha, and one is srita. And the Gemara thinks at this point that srita and gedida are two different things. Rashi says that one is going to be with a kli and one is by hand. I imagine that srita sounds a little bit like with a hand, with scratching, and gedida is going to be with a kli. And the Gemara thinks there's two different things. So if anything, let's try to make this whole pasuk. It's talking about men only because it says together losas godu is not nice to skip over. Let's say that it's going on losas godu and also losas simu korcha. And the pasuk says Kiam Kadosh Atah. It's referring to something else. It's referring to the pasuk of Shrita, and over there we're going to say that it's also for women. Yeah, that's the Gemara's kasha. Still, how does he know to say that losas simu korcha is not for women? The Gemara answers because Shrita Gedida Achasi. He doesn't know that it's two things. He knows that it's all the same. That even though one pasuk calls it Gedida, one pasuk calls it Shrita, they're all the same. And Rashi says both of them mean both B'Kli and both B'Yad. They're all the same. So we have no choice. So we have to say that the pasuk that says men only, Banamatem, is referring to losas simu korcha because that's the easier issur. The fact that it only applies to the place where there's hair. And the pasuk that says Kiam Kadosh Atah, that's coming to include women, is referring to Gedida and Srita. You can't divide Srita something else because Srita is all the same. All this was the first answer. The first answer, what's the reason of Isi? We're looking for a drasha for Isi that says that women are not included in the issur of korcha, the issur of pulling out hair, grieving over a dead. So Isi says women are not included. They got from this pasuk, and they wanted to explain how he's able to jump over part of the pasuk and say that Gedida, women are included. That's the first answer.
Both korcha and gedida. Oh, we don't know.
No, we finished and we said that Isi says that korcha is excluded. Women are excluded from this of korcha, but gedida they are included. Because over there it says Kiam Kadosh, and now includes the women also. So that's what Isi says, that only korcha, the issur of pulling out hair, grieving over the dead, does not apply to women. If women would be allowed to do that. There's no issur on the Mishnah doesn't say. The Mishnah only says three exceptions: peyos, beard, and temula mace for kohenes. But Isi added on a fourth one that there's no issur for lo sosim korcha ben nechem mace. That was the first evidence. Top line on Lamed Vav. And it's not here. Rashi just says that since it's a related topic, so if we have an extra pasuk that says something applies to women also, let's apply it to that and say that it doesn't say men, woman, doesn't say anything. And here it says a pasuk that says something includes everybody. Am kadosh l'Hashem, includes women also. So a lack of possibilities, we'll say that's the, what do you call that?
Process of elimination.
Thank you. So we'll say that it's not Gedida and it's not Korcha. It must be Srita. But the Gemara says you can't do that. He can't do that because the whole sweet thing, they're all the same. And if the pasuk over here is going to say that women are not excluded from the exclusion of treat also, so we have to say that Kedida is included and Karcha is excluded. So that's the issue comes out that only Karcha is excluded from women. The bottom of Hashem is referring to Karcha. That was reason number one. Top line, About Yom Hainu Taima the EC, the Gomer Karcha B'Bnei Aaron. Yes, Gzer Shava. 1 second, just to highlight it. Okay, Karcha B'Bnei Aaron. That it says yesterday we had also the pas. Yesterday we had that by Kohanim it says the word pas zikanecha, and here it says also pas roshcha. So there was a Gzer Shava. This is the same pasuk, and it's going to be a Gzer Shava to learn out. It says by Aaron. The Rashi brings down the pasuk over here. Like Yechu Karcha B'Rosham. Let's talk about Kohanim. And it's very strange. I mean, it needs explanation on a pshat level because it says the Isra by any Israel, and it also says it again by Kohanim also. And there's halachically no difference. Both of them are going to be the same halachas. And here is going to learn out that by Kohanim, when it says that the Isra by Kohen to pull letters here, grieving over a mace, so it says Dafka men, B'nai Aaron, and it doesn't say women, not B'nos Aaron. And if that's true by Kohanim, then it's surely going to be true by Israelim also. What makes sense here? Why? Right, and it says that even like Kohanim that are more machmir, it says women are excluded. So Kal V'chomer Yisraelim that are less than Kohanim, that's really excluded. It's the opposite. You're going the wrong direction. You're saying that Kohanim are more chomer. That's right. Even by Kohanim, it says that the women are excluded. So Kal V'chomer Yisraelim that are less than Kohanim, that's surely the women are surely excluded. Good, true.
I mean, we say excluded already.
That they're not included in the Isser. There's Isser of Korcha, and we say that by B'nai Aaron, V'lo B'nos Aaron, Kohanos are not going to be included, even though the Chashva ladies more than Israelios, and they're excluded. So Kal V'chomer, the Israelios are excluded. True? But the Gemara says more. It doesn't say Kal V'chomer. I just said a Kal V'chomer. The Gemara is going to say in a second that it doesn't. Why not say what I said? But it says Gzer Shava. Korcha B'Bnei Aaron. There's a Gzer Shava. It says here Korcha. There it says Korcha. So you make a Gzer Shava link. And if
two different psukim,
right, one is by Israel and one is by Kohanim, and by Kohanim it says B'nei Aaron. So it does not include the Kohanos. So the Gzer Shava will tell you that it doesn't include the Israelios either. That pasuk by Israel.
Female Israeli. I was thinking Israeli men. That's my mistake.
Just like by Kohanim, the Kohanos are excluded. So too by the Israelim, the Israelios are going to be patur. Now we have the same Gemara, Kamada carbon copy of yesterday. Gemara speaks about the Gzer Shava. The obvious thing would have been to say better Kal V'chomer. The missing, the questionable factor over here is when it says B'nei Aaron, Emor Kohanim B'nei Aaron. It starts off the Parshas Emor, Emor Kohanim B'nei Aaron. Speak to the B'nei Aaron, and then it says don't become Tomei, and other halachas about Kohanim, and that's B'nei Aaron. Eventually, it also talks about these halachas about Peyos, halachas about Korcha, and the question is if that's also going back to the B'nei Aaron and not B'nos Aaron. Are B'nos Aaron excluded? And the Gemara here is assuming that B'nos Aaron are excluded. That when it says B'nei Aaron, it's referring to the whole parsha, and everything women are excluded. And if so, the Gemara asks simply, why make a Kal V'chomer such a fancy drasha with a Kal V'chomer with a Gzer Shava? You could have said Kal V'chomer even without a Gzer Shava. It's logical that Kohanim are more chomer, and if even by Kohanim the women are excluded, Kal V'chomer by Israelios. And the Gemara didn't do that. The Gemara's Abaye said that it's a Gzer Shava. That's going to be the whole Gemara. It's going to be about 20, 30 lines, which is not much the same pattern as yesterday. The Gemara asks, if you're assuming that when it says B'nei Aaron in the beginning, and more like B'nei Aaron, you're assuming that it refers to the whole parsha. The whole parsha is only men, not women. So Nishta Kromine, you don't need Gzer Shava. The pasuk should be quiet from the Gzer Shava. Don't make a Gzer Shava link. But Kal V'chomer, you could have done it with Kal V'chomer, which is logical instead of having a Gzer Shava link. I would have said a Kal V'chomer like this. Uma Kohanim should be b'hem because of mitzvahs Yisraelis. Kohanim that the Torah makes more mitzvahs over there. They have more mitzvahs than Israel, and they're more chomer. That's what Chaim David was saying. And still, B'nei Aaron v'lo B'nos Aaron. Here when it says the Israel of Korcha, it says only men and not women. Mm-hmm. So Yisrael, no Kolshkein, isn't it a Kal V'chomer the Israelim that it's not going to apply to the women? So you don't have to have a Gzer Shava. So this is the Gemara's kasha. Why did Abai say Gzer Shava? He could have said a.
Wait, well, what's the Kal V'chomer? If the Kohanim have more mitzvahs,
In general, Kohanim are more chomer than Yisraelim, right? They're more
So
than.
that's why.
And if by Kohanim the women are excluded, so surely by Yisraelim the women are going to be excluded. Are you going to say that a Yisraelis is going to be more chomer than a Kohenis? That Yisraelis is not allowed to do a korcha, and a Kohenis is allowed to do a korcha? Wouldn't make sense. So the fact that the Torah already excludes that women Kohanis is excluded from the issue of korcha, so we could do on ourselves a kal v'chomer. Why did the Torah make Gzera Shava? It's a superfluous Gzera Shava.
The Gzera Shava sounds nice according to a certain grammatical system.
But you don't need it if you have a kal v'chomer. If it's rational, if it's logical, you don't need a Gzera Shava is like an extra pasuk.
So my question is, what's more strong in this?
You don't need the strength.
You need any one.
So the Torah wouldn't have written
one.
The Torah would not have written a Gzera Shava if the kal v'chomer we could have done on our own. Kal v'chomer is logical. You don't have to have any pasuk for it. The Torah says Kohanis is pater, so we said in the Beis Medrash you figure out that Yisrael are also pater, surely pater. And the Torah went out of its way to make a Gzera Shava link. What did it need? Why did Hashem need that for? We would have known it anyway. Logical question. The Gemara answers that it's not so simple that when the pasuk says Bnei Aaron in Parsha Samar, it's referring to the whole Parsha. Maybe the beginning it talks about Tumah, that's referring to men and not women. But afterwards, when it says about Korcha and these things, maybe it's referring to women also. If not for the Gzera Shava, that the pasuk is telling you to learn something out from each other, to figure out that it's coming to exclude women, I would have said that that women also chayiv, that the Kohanos are also chayiv, and even though it says Bnei Aaron in the beginning of the parsha, that's only the first halacha that it talks about Tumah. Tumah doesn't apply to the Benos Aaron, but afterwards when it talks about Korcha, maybe it applies to the Benos Aaron also. Once it says Gzera Shava, now I know that the pasuk is coming to teach you something. It must be coming to teach you something, and the something is going to be that women are pater. So it must be that Bnei Aaron is referring to the whole parsha, and women are excluded, and so too Israelis are also excluded. But the Gemara has to explain all that. Just because if you have a minute to say that the pasuk Bnei Aaron in the beginning of the parsha is not referring to the whole parsha, and women are included, Hashtanami name Hifsakanian. Maybe now that there's a Gzera Shava also, there's no more reason why you should be convinced. You should think that pasuk Bnei Aaron is coming to exclude women. The Gemara is going with the logic that if there's a Gzera Shava, it's coming to teach you something. If it's coming to teach you something, what is it coming to teach you? It must be coming to teach you. The only thing, again, process of elimination, the only thing the Gemara can figure out is coming to teach you is that women are excluded. That means, by definition, that means when the pasuk says Bnei Aaron, it's coming to exclude Benos Aaron and the whole parsha, the hips that Korcha, Kohenes are pater, and making Gzera Shava to Israelis that they're also pater. But Gemara says, I'm not convinced because the Gzera Shava is already necessary for something else. So if you have such a Havamina that Bnei Aaron is not referring to the whole parsha, you still have no reason to change that Havamina. Maybe it's only referring to the beginning of the parsha, and the women are really chayiv. And there's a Gzera Shava that's coming to teach you something else. You have a problem that there's a Gzera Shava, that's why you think that it must be telling you that women are pater. No, the Gzera Shava is necessary for something else. It says in a brisa, it says in the pasuk, you should not make a bald spot. You might think that even if you did many bald spots, you pulled out many hairs, you might think that you only have one. If it would have said it would have meant one, as many as you do, you only chai for one avera. But since it says that means every bald spot, every time you pull out hair, there's going to be another avera. Maybe it's nice to highlight the pasuk over here. Right, so we're going on this part of the pasuk. And then it says karcha, and then it says berosham. So it says, if it says Leikruhu, we'd say that no matter how much he does, he's only chayiv one. So it says Korcha, to tell you each one. Then it says in the pasuk Berosham, why does it have to say that for Berosham? The Fisher Nama says go to do Belosa Simu Korcha Beinei Nechem Lameis. In the pasuk when it talks about Israelim, it talks about also not making a bald spot over there. It doesn't say Berosham. Over there it says Beinei Nechem. It says don't make cuts in your skin and do not place a bald spot between your eyes for the dead. So you might think that it's only Beinei Nechem. Beinei Nine, because it says Beinei Nechem. You might think only chayiv if you would make a bald spot between your eyes, which would mean not that it can't. Of course, it can't mean mamish between the eyes because there's no hair over there usually. But and the head, like tefillin, we say Beinei Nechem means the place of the tefillin Beinei Nechem. So you might think the pasuk of Lo So simu korcha b'nei nechem that it says by Yisraelim, you might say only refers to b'nei nechem. How do you know that the whole head? Here the Gemara says the whole head is really us. No difference. Therefore, the pasuk by Kohanim, it says that Isser is on the whole head. It doesn't say b'nei nechem over there. It says b'rosham. So that teaches you that the whole head is included in the Isser, just like b'nei nine. So far the pasuk here that we just learned taught us two chumras. That first of all, korcha, that for every korcha is chayv another avera, and b'rosham is that the whole head. And by Israelim it doesn't say that. By Israelim it just says beloso simu korcha b'nei nechem l'meis. It only says korcha once. It doesn't say two times, and it says b'nei nechem. So now, how do you know to apply everything that it says by Kohanim also to Israelim? That only teaches us Kohanim. That over there, they're more chomer, they're more mitzvahs. Maybe over there, the Torah says that he's high for each bald spot and the whole head, but Yisrael Manala. And who says it applies to Israelim also? Maybe by Israel it's more lenient and only high for as many as they do, and also only Beinei Nechem. So there's Gzera Shava, Nemal Kan Korcha, Nemal Halan Korcha. There's a Gzera Shava link between Israel and Kohanim. Mal Halan Chayiv Al Kol Korcha V'Korcha, Chayiv Al Rosh K'Beinei Nayim, Af Halan Chayiv Al Kol Korcha V'Korcha, V'Chayiv Al Rosh K'Beinei Nayim. Whatever applies to Kohanim, we also make a Gzera Shava link to apply to Israel. So these two chumras that it applies, that there's an Issa for every wall spot that he makes, and also in the whole head, not only Beinei Nechem, that also applies to Israel. Also, there's another Gzera Shava the other direction. It says by Israel, it says Lameis. By Kohanim, it says it doesn't say about a mace. Maybe over there it doesn't apply to a mace. Just like by Israel, it says that Isser is grieving over the dead. So too by Kohanim, the Isser of Korcha is only when he's doing it over the dead. So all this was a kasha. It's a long kasha. What was the kasha? That who tells you that Benos Yisrael are excluded? Benos Aaron. It says in the beginning, Parsha Semor, Amar Kohanim Bnei Aaron, and it says a lot of halachas. Tuma, marrying who to marry, all kinds of isurim about the Kohen. It also says about Losim Korcha and Pasukana. It says other halachas also. And the Gemara is wondering if when it says Bnei Aaron, is it all and not Benos Aaron, is it coming on the whole parsha or not? If you have a tzad to say that it's not going on the whole parsha, so why are you convinced now that it is going on the whole parsha? Just because there's a Gzera Shava, you use the process of elimination. There's nothing else the pasuk could be telling you. It must be coming to tell you that women are potter here, like Benos Aaron, and therefore by Israelim also. But the more is asking, there's no process of elimination because there's one thing left. Maybe it's coming to tell you this Gzera Shava that's necessary to tell you other halachas besides women. It's coming to tell you that every korcha. It's coming to tell you the whole head. It's coming to tell you by the Kohanim. It's also only ala mace. The Gzera Shava is necessary to use already. So you have no extra Gzera Shava to teach you that Benos Aaron are excluded in the whole parsha. The Gemara answers, Kerach, La Yikruchu Kerach, although Simu Korcha, my Kerach, my Korcha, Shtamavinotarti. Abai sees over here two Gzera Shavas. The fact that it has an extra letter, the extra letter hey, it could have left out the letter hey. Since it has the extra letter hey, it's come to tell you another drasha. If it says, it's as if it says two Gzera Shavas, and now the extra Gzera Shava teaches you that the pasuk that it says Bnei Aaron must be coming to exclude Benos Aaron, and now we can apply that also to women, also to Bnei Israel. All that we could put into a parentheses. All that was a kasha why he went out of his way to say Gzera Shava. Why it wouldn't have been enough to say a Avrohom? But if you want to be short, that's a short Gemara. So that's the first line. Baya said the drush is because Korcha Bnei Aaron over there says Bnei Aaron and Benos Aaron. So too the Gzera Shava tells us that by women, like Israelios also, women are excluded. So the Gemara is reading.
Korcha b'Rosham,
yes.
Korcha b'Nechem.
It's the same thing.
One is
by Kohen, one Bnei Nechem it says by Yisraelim, and by Kohanim it says b'Rosham. I'm making Gzera Shava that applies to everybody. The main point of the Gemara is to talk about Benos Aaron. That since it says Bnei Aaron and it means to exclude women by Kohanim, and now we're making Gzera Shava, but that is also excluded by Yisraelim also. That's already the second Russia. And now up to the third Russia. This is all to explain Isi. He learns out from Tefillin that as here it says Lo Sasimu Korcha Beinei Nechem Lameis. By Tefillin it says Vaylu Tatafos Beinei Nechem. Ma'al Halan Lashon Peturas. Sapkan Lashon Peturas. Once we know Tefillin women are potter. How do we know Tefillin women are potter? Because it's next to Talmud Torah a couple of pages ago. But we know Tefillin women are potter. So now Gzeir Shava Beinei Nechem to tell women are potter
This would
for
be all women. Instead of going from Cohen.
right, nothing to do with Kohen, right? All women are potter.
Are potter because of tefillin,
Right.
because Beinei Nechem.
Right.
Okay.
So we have 3 drushes, and we finished. We finished the 3 drushes of Isi. It means that he doesn't say anything. He just said women are potter. The Gemara is trying to figure out. First, the Gemara said, just to recap, yes, the page before.
Where's the first EC? It's the
Isi is in the second wide line is
second
Isi.
wide line.
And then the Gemara said right away, how does he know it? And the Gemara offered, the first drusha was, that took some time to figure out how come he skipped the losses go to do, but that was his drusha, bonim and not bonos. Second drusha was a vaya top of the page that said korcha from Bnei Aaron, and Rava says Bnei Nechem from Tefillin.
Okay.
This is the shortened version of the Gemara.
Okay.
Now the Gemara wants to know how come each one doesn't know the other one, which is a standard question that the Gemara would ask. Rava, my timer, Lama Kavaye. What's wrong with a Bais drasha, which was Korcha. Where are you?
I'm sorry, where are we?
Rava, my timer, Lama Kavaye.
Oh, okay.
The answer is Korcha lo mashmale. He doesn't agree to that. The extra hey is considered another word. That's the way you talk. You don't say kerach. So therefore, he doesn't have that extra drasha, which we domino it back. If we see the chain river, if you don't have that, so then he's not impressed with the fact that it's Gzeir Shava, and maybe Bnei Aaron does also include Bnei Aaron, because even though it says Bnei Aaron is only the beginning of the parsha, and he's not impressed with the Gzeir Shava. The Avrohom with the Gzeir Shava doesn't show us anything. Maybe Bnei Aaron is only referring to the Tumah, but everybody else, the women are included also.
Abai is the one that said Tarti.
Abba.
Well, why does it says Kerach, Korcha, right?
Yes. He said, Abai said that that's the extra letter that's not Tarti. The fact that was the 2 lines ago.
Yeah.
And Abai doesn't know that drasha.
Okay.
That's the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Next question. How come Abai doesn't know the Rava? Rava has a nice drasha of tefillin. What's wrong with that? Beinei Nechem from tefillin. If I tefillin that potter, make Gzeir Shava to say that Korach is also potter. Amalach. Abai will tell you tefillin gufayu me'achav gamalach. The Gzeir Shava is used up already. I agree to the Gzeir Shava Beinei Nechem to tefillin to Korcha, but it's used up for something already, and therefore I can't use it for telling you that women are potter. What is the drasha used for? Ma'alahala makom shosin korcha begova shel rosh avkan makom anacha begova rosh. It says by tefillin it's put beinei nechem. Maybe you're really supposed to put the tefillin between your eyes. Actually, maybe it's still supposed to be between your eyes. How do you know it means on the forehead opposite between the eyes? This is where you learn it out from, because it says by korcha, those who see korcha beinei nechem lemeis. Over there, you can't take it literally that it means between the eyes, because there is no hair between the eyes. So you must say that it means opposite between the eyes. So too by tefillin, that's the way to put the tefillin. You don't put the tefillin between the eyes, but the tefillin on the head where there's hair. So it's used up already. Wait,
we're asking about what, about the tefillin?
Yes. What's wrong with Rava's drasha? It's a nice drasha. They learn out beinei nechem from tefillin.
Yeah.
Women are potter. Women are potter over there. Yeah. So Abai says the Gzeir Shava was used up already, because you learn out from there that tefillin is supposed to be put over here and not over here.
I see. They used it up.
This says the kasha that usually you don't say Gzeir Shava is used up. It's ein Gzeir Shava lemechza. You don't say partial Gzeir Shava once the link is made. Everything is learned out from each other. So it says a terrace to that kasha. That's obvious kasha that has to be asked. And the third thing the more wants to know is how come they don't hold of the first drasha. Bein la'abaye, bein le'Rava. Hi bonim atem la'Hashem. Hi bonim atem my darshibe. That was the first drasha we had. We had 3 drashas. The Stam Gemara, then Abai, then Rava. The first asks how come Rava doesn't hold the Abai, Abai doesn't hold the Rava. How come both of them don't hold the first drasha? It says bonim atem la'Hashem ulokechem, and say bonim lo susim u'korcha b'nei nechem. That was the first drasha of the Gemara to exclude women. The Gemara answers, "Ani boy le'lechinatanya." That drasha of bonim is coming to teach you something else, like the Brisa says, and now a little bit of Agadata. The person says you are sons to Hashem. Rabbi Yehuda says you only call sons to Hashem when you act like sons. But if you don't act like sons, so you're not sons. That's how he learns Peshat to the pasuk. You should know that you're sons, like act like it. And if you don't act like it, so you're not sons. But you're called sons even if you don't act like sons. And he's going to bring a bunch of psukim to show that sons are called sons even if they don't act like it, and memela by humans, and therefore, the pasuk is going to refer to our Am Yisrael as sons not good sons, but they're still called sons. And it brings a bunch of psukim. Shenema, banim sechalim hema. They are foolish sons. So you see, even though they're fools, they're still called sons. You might say that a foolish son is not a son. No, even though they're fools, they're still sons. Another pasuk, Omer, banim la'emun bam. They're sons that I cannot put my trust in them. I'm not. There's no security in them. They're not steadfast. So you see, even though they're called la'emun bam, they're still called banim. A third pasuk. Maybe I should just highlight it for the enjoyment of all these psukim, that they were still called sons. But banim shechalim heim was one pasuk. Another pasuk, banim la'emun bam. A third pasuk, zera mirayim, banim mashchisim. They're bad seed. That's destructive children. Banim mashchisim. Another pasuk. In place of what they once were called Lo Amiyatim, you're not my nation, they're going to be called B'nai El Chai, the sons of the living God. So he brought 1, 2, 3, 4. He brought 4 psukim to show that children, they were called children, even though we're not good children. And the Gemara asks, that's the end of the Brisa. That was Abuda said only called children if we act like children. Rabbi says even if not, then he brought 4 psukim. And now the Gemara in the third white line asks, why does the Rabbi have to bring 4 psukim? Why do you have to have so many psukim for? The answer is, you might say from the first pasuk, it says foolish sons are still called sons, but maybe only if they're foolish. But if they are not trustworthy, maybe that's already to cross the red line. Maybe they're not called sons anymore. So the second pasuk, that they're still called banim, even though they're not trustworthy. How can we need the third pasuk? That's if they're bad sons, they're not trustworthy. But if they do avodah zarah, maybe over there, that's too light. They cross the red line, they're not called sons anymore. So you have the third pasuk. Tashma v'omer mirayim banim mashchisim. So mashchisim, destructive. That's referring to avodah zarah. They do avodah zarah. So you see, even if they do avodah zarah, they're still called sons. They're still called banim. And how can we need the fourth pasuk? V'chitem banim mashchisim udam mikru. The name Aliyah lo mikru, that they're called bad sons, destructive sons. And they're not called anymore good sons. Rashi points out that the Havamina would be, even if they did tshuva, that once they went so far to do avodah zarah, they're never going to be called again good sons, even if they do tshuva. So now you have the fourth pasuk, Tashma, V'omer, V'yimokam M'she'er Me'alem, Lo Amiyatem, Yirme'alem B'nei El Chai, that even though they were at one point called Lo Ami, you're not my nation, they're going to be called B'nei El Chai. Rashi says when they do tshuva. So tshuva helps. If they don't do tshuva, they're not doing tshuva. But if they do tshuva, Hashem is going to take them back as if everything is good. And even though they did avodah zarah, Hashem takes them back. So at the end of the sugya, what do we learn? That in our Mishnah says there are 3 exceptions to the rule that at Losa say women are included, even if it's Mangrama, Los Mangrama, women are chayiv in all Losa say, but there are 3 exceptions. The Isser to cut payas, the Isser to cut the beard, and the Isser of a Kohen to become Tamar the Mason. And Isi added on a 4th one, which is Los Isi Mukorcha. The Gemara doesn't say if we hold like a Isi or not, but Isi added on a 4th one, and we had 3 drushes. Banim Atem Lashem Molokechem, and Ixer Shava Korcha from Kohanim, and Bubba's drusha was from Tefillin. Benenechem from Tefillin, to tell you that women are part of Tefillin, also part of Los Isi Mukorcha. I don't know if a person like him or not, but that was easy. New Mishnah, which could have been very short, I'm not sure. Excuse me, thank you. And thank you so much, thank you. In short, the Mishnah says that women cannot do avodah in the Beis HaMikdash. Even that's what it says. It could have said in one word. I'm not sure why the Mishnah is. And the pasuk was so right. All the particulars and there's a pasuk for each one. Why couldn't there be one pasuk that say that only men could do avodah in the Beis HaMikdash, not women? But it's going to be a pasuk for each one. Asmichos, but 1, 2, 3.
Asmichos is something that that a Baal can do, can't he?
A Baal meaning
the person, the
owner. The owner, the guy's supposed to do smicha on a carbon. He's supposed to. And a woman, if she needs a carbon, she doesn't. Avoda, okay, service. A service isn't the Beis HaMikdash. Okay, you want to say that smicha?
I'm saying he's a non-Kohen, can do smicha.
So he's saying that smicha is also okay. Good, okay.
Maybe.
So that's why the first one, but the rest of them still have the problem. So smicha, men do smicha when they bring a carbon that's chayiv smicha, so then the men do it, but the women don't. Tenufos, that's waving a carbon, and that's going to be avoda. Usually, it's going to be by the Kohen. There are going to be tenufos by the Bailam also, which we're going to see. And here it says that women don't do tenufa. Hagashos, that's for our Kohen, that he takes the milcha in a kli and he touches it to the corner of the mizbeach, the word agasha means like by yigash, to approach. You put the kli with the mincha, touch it to the corner of the mizbeach.
The kli.
You kli, right? And that's women cannot do that. It's only for a kohen, and it's coming to tell you that a kohen, not a kohen. So kohenes can't do avodah in the base of mikdash.
Agashas is only for
Kohen.
It's only for sota? No.
No.
What kind of korban?
A korban mincha.
A korban mincha has a hagasha?
I don't remember if it's all minchos, but some minchos have a hagasha. And a kmitzos, that's also by korban mincha, that you take a fistful out of the flour and put it onto the mizbeach. That's called kmitza. And aktoros means burning things on the mizbeach. It doesn't mean Ktoros dafka in the Ktoros with the frankincense. Aktor means to burn on the Mizbeach. So the women, Kohanim, cannot do that. And Malika is the way that you shech the bird in the base of Mikdash, that you don't do it with a knife in the front of the neck, but you do it with a fingernail in the back. And that only a Kohen can do, not a Kohenes. And Kabbalos, to be Makabal, to receive the blood. Again, it's for the Kohen, it's not for the Kohenes. Hazos means sprinkling the blood. And the Gemara is going to talk about that. What azos means exactly, sprinkling the blood. And also, all these things, all these things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 of these avodas, they only apply to men, not to women. Tenufa, the second thing we said, tenufa, to wave the korban, women don't do. So here it says there are 2 exceptions that women do. That's a mincha sota, that she's supposed to do tenufa together with the kohen, and a nazir also that brings just like a nazir would we do tenufa with the kohen. So too the nazira that brings a korban mincha also she does tenufa. Did I get it right? That's what a mincha. I forgot. The waving of the by the nazir is also. Any Rashi on that? Right on the mincha. Okay, so the Gemara said that's going to be very easy now. Very easy Gemara that it talks about. It's going to say each time it's going to bring a pasuk that says that it's only men and not women. And here goes the Gemara. Smichos. How do you know that smich is only for men? Tichsiv Davel b'nei Yisrael b'samach. So dafka b'nei Yisrael samachim b'nei Yisrael samachos because it says masculine b'nei Yisrael. Tenufos. How do you know? Again, Davel b'nei Yisrael b'heinif. It says b'nei Yisrael. So means dafka the men b'nei Yisrael menifin b'nei Yisrael menifos. The men wait, but not the women. Agashas, how do you know?
Wait, so then if it does, why doesn't it give the exceptions?
What do you mean?
We just had 2 exceptions in the Mishnah. Why didn't it?
We're going in order. The Gemara doesn't say the exception until the end of the Mishnah.
Okay.
And Agashos. I'm not sure if I'm going to answer your question later on, but I'm just pushing it off now because
Right
that's
now
the
we
order.
showed why the women
don't do tenufa. And that's what the Mishnah says. They don't do tenufa.
Okay.
If it says it is an exception, so we'll have it later.
Okay.
Yeah, Rashi says the Gemara is going to say so. We know it from. The third one, Agashos. The Zos Toros HaMincha, Akrevos B'nei Aaron. There it is, B'nei Aaron. B'nei Aaron, Gelo B'nos Aaron. The next one, Kemitzos, Techsev Avia El B'nei Aaron. Again, B'nei Aaron. The first one, I pointed out that the first one's not Dafka Kohanim because it applies to Israel also, therefore it's Dafka B'nei Yisrael and not B'nei Aaron. But afterwards, from Agasha, Kemitza, now it talks about B'nei Aaron because it's only for Kohanim. So then it says B'nei Aaron, V'lo B'nos Aaron. Haktorah, so say Victor also B'nei Aaron. Once again, it says B'nei Aaron. B'nei Aaron, V'lo B'nos Aaron. And Hamalikos. Now here it doesn't have it. Doesn't say B'nei Aaron. Tichsev Molak v'Hikter Iskish Maliko Laktor. That's already Hekish because it says both psukim together about Haktorah. Haktorah we had a second ago. That Haktorah is B'nei Aaron. Malika doesn't say, but there's pasuk compares them. Say learn out Malika from Haktorah. Iskish Malika Laktor. Just like Haktorah is only B'nei Aaron, so also Malika.
What is the Hekish?
Hekish. The pasuk says
next to each other.
Right. And Hakabolos, which means to receive the blood. So it says B'nei Aaron. How do you know what a krivu means? A krivu might mean something else, which means to bring the blood close. But that the Gemara says, V'amamar, krivu means the Kabbalah. Krivu, Kabbalah Adam. So therefore, we know that the Kabbalah is also only the B'nei Aaron, not the B'nos Aaron. Wrong way, 1 second please.
We're still trying to prove that they're not chayav to avoid it.
But each avoda is specified by itself. It doesn't say in general avoda, it says each one by itself. And I don't know why the Torah, it's not Kash on the Gemara. The Gemara is really supposed to do stuff.
A woman can do shchita.
So I don't know. You're right. I don't know the answer. Could a woman do shechita for a korban? I don't know. A man could, Israel could shech, but I don't know if a woman could. But it doesn't say not. So I really don't know. Maybe you're right that a woman also could shech korban. I don't know. Hazos. So first, before the Gemara says, how do you know? The Gemara says, what are we talking about? What does Hazor mean? Hazor dehecha. What kind of a sprinkling of the blood? Eat the para. Aloza kasaba. Eat the penim. Hakana mashiach kasaba. It can't mean talking about sprinkling the paraduma, the blood of the paraduma, because that not only a woman excluded, anybody's excluded, even the kohen are excluded. It has to be dafka aloza. Aloza means the scan kohen, or it means then in which generation maybe the kohen gadol. But the Gemara thinks that not any kohen, even a regular kohen, are not good for it. That's what the Gemara seems to say. Aloza means the scan kohen, the kohen gadol, the scan kohen, the assistant kohen gadol. What?
The son of Aaron.
Which means 4 generations is going to mean the Sagan. Because Elazar was not the Kohen Gadol at the time, Aaron was still alive, and Elazar did it. So the Gemara is asking, you don't need a person to exclude women, all Kohanim are excluded, Dafka, the Sagan, and need the Pnim, if it means other kinds of Azos of inside the Mikdash, inside the Mishkan, that where the Kohen would do Hazah. So they're also a Kohen Mashiach possible, Dafka Kohen Mashiach, Dafka the Kohen Gadol, which is questionable because they has a kasha that a Kohen Hedin is also good for that, but the Gemara seems to say over here that only Kohen Gadol is good. So you don't have to you can't exclude women. Even the Kohanim are excluded. El Azar de Ben Ov. The Chiddush is going to be sprinkling the blood of a bird. Dasi b'kal v'chomer ben son. How do you know that the Mishnah didn't say anything about Zrikas Adam? Did it say? It says that you know how you know. How do you know that women are excluded from sprinkling the blood of a bird? Dasi b'kal v'chomer ben son. Because we could learn kal v'chomer from a sheep. Are they allowed to sprinkle the blood of a sheep? Ma ben son shelo kavalo kohen l'shchitaso. Kavalo kohen lazaso, ben nov shekavalo kohen l'mlikaso, and odin sheyikvalo kohen lazaso. That's kavachomer. It seems that for an animal that you need the sprinkling to be done by a kohen. That's a given.
They one of the 4.
And it wasn't. Now Rashi. That's very interesting because the Gemara doesn't say in the Mishnah about here. Rashi brings down the pasuk V'zoku b'nei Aaron. I'll just highlight it here. V'zoku b'nei Aaron. Rashi brings us the pasuk to say that the zrika is only kosher by men and not women. And that was making a. I think that's what the Gemara means to say. That's what Rashi means to say that it has to be the zrika has to be dafka by the men and not the women. And now
those are the 4 avodas that are required to make in a kosher. Hazor is one of the 4, right?
Shechita, Kabbalah, Allah, and Zrika. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Those are the 4 avodas. But so I'm not sure what you mean.
No, so it's got to be men.
That's what we're talking about. Who says you need men? This is the Mishnah that doesn't say it in short. Everything needs a man. It says each one separately. And Rashi means the more doesn't start talking about Zrika. And that we're supposed to know. Rashi says it's a pasuk Zoku b'nei Aaron. The dafka the men are the ones who could do Zrika. Zrika is talking about by an animal. When you shecht an animal, so you do Zrika Saddam. And there's a pasuk that says b'nei Aaron. And now the Gemara is telling you that the Mishnah is telling you Kal v'chomer. How do you know that when you do Hazah on a bird, by a bird you don't shecht it, you don't do Zrika. You do Malika, and then you hold on to the bird and you sprinkle it like that. And how do you know that is only by? Depends if it's a chatos or an ola. Sometimes you sprinkle it. So how do you know that that's kosher? That doesn't say b'nei Aaron. So how do you know? So the one makes a kal v'chomer. We're going to highlight that answer. That's going to be asher kal v'chomer ben son. It's going to be a kal v'chomer from a sheep. By a sheep is more lenient as far as the kohen goes than a bird, because by a sheep, low cover low kohen l'shchitas. You don't need a kohen for the shchita, like Chaim David said that Israel also could shech. But cover low kohen also. But for the zrika, you do have to have a kohen. So ben of shekava lo hakohen the milikaso eno din sheyikvalo kohen those also. So kavachomer a bird that you even for the shechita of the bird, which is called malika, you do need a kohen. You see that a bird is more chomer than an animal, because by an animal the shechita is kosher with Yisrael, and by the bird the malika is only with a kohen, which is equal to the shechita. So if by an animal you have to have a kohen for the zrika, for sprinkling the blood, so kavachomer you have to have a kohen and not a kohenes for the sprinkling of the blood of the bird. So that's what the Mishnah meant when it said Azah. It meant the Azah of a bird. And how you know it? You know it from a kal v'chomer from the animal. And the animal the Mishnah didn't even mention. And the end of the Mishnah says an exception, which Levi Yaakov was pointing out, plus Mincha Sota and a 0 over there, the woman does do tenufa.
Woman what?
Does tenufa.
there are cases where they do tenufa.
And the cases are the Zira and the Sota. Amalei Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yoshia, the Dore. Rabbi Elazar said to Rabbi Yoshia of his generation. That means there must have been another Rabbi Yoshia. So it's telling you the Rabbi Yoshia of his generation. Rashi points out that the older Rabbi Yoshia must have also been alive, and he's talking about his, because else wouldn't have to say. Of course, it has to be in his generation. He could have said talked to somebody who's not in his generation, but it means that he was probably older already, and there were two Rabbi Yoshias, and he spoke to the one who was more his contemporary, right?
Yeah, his contemporary. That's good.
So he told Rabbi Elazar said to Rabbi Yoshia of his generation, don't sit on your foot. I guess in the olden days they used to sit on the floor and fold their feet. So that's another way of saying don't sit down until you tell me the answer to the following question. Like saying don't go to sleep. Don't go to sleep until you answer me the question. How do you know that a sota, the mincha of a sota has to have tenufa? So that's a fair pasuk. He said, why it says fair pasuk. It says, of course, it says a pasuk in the Torah, you need tenufa by mincha. What are you asking me a hard question? He meant to say, how do you know that the owner is the one who has to do the tenufa by a sota? Maybe that's the Kohen. Maybe the Kohen does tenufa, which that is a fair pasuk. But who says that the owner? Who says the woman has to do tenufa? The answer is Asi Yad Yad Mishlamin is Gzera Shava. By Ishlam Ksif Achav Lakacha Kohen Yado Isha. Osif Hasam La'alon Yadav Tviyana. So the pasuk by the Sota, it says that the Kohen takes it, and it sounds like the Kohen is the one who does tenufa. By the Shlomim, it's mashma that the Bailam is the one who does tenufa, and the truth is that you always have to have both. Ma'kan Kohen Naflalan Kohen, Ma'lalan Bailam Afkan Bailam. Here it says by maybe the Pesukim will help us over here. If we go to the side,
to be enemies, what
his hand should bring the korban. That the owner, it is about the owner. The owner should bring the korban, the chaylev and the chazah to bring it to do tenufa. So the Gemara was out from there that the owner is supposed to be the one who does tenufa by Islam. And the pasuk by us by Sota, you have on the screen, you have both pasukim. That the pasuk here by the Sota, it says v'lakacha kohen miyado isha samincha sakanos by nifas samincha l'fnei Hashem. The kohen should take the mincha from the woman and should do tenufa. So the pasuk means the kohen does tenufa. Here it says v'henif. This means the kohen does tenufa.
It would be a different form. This is a masculine.
It says the kohen does tenufa. This is the pasuk that says by Sota. Here by the Shlomim it says the owner Yadav Tviyana the Hanif. So this is the owner doing tenufa. So it's going to say now that there's a Gzera Shabbat to learn out one from the other. The Sota has what the regular Shlomim has. The Shlomim has what the Sota has, and you have to have both. You have to have both the owner doing tenufa and also the Kohen. And what's the Gzera Shabbat going to be? Yad Yad. What's Yad Yad? Here it says Yad. Here's Miyad. And here it says Yadav. Yad Yadav. That's Gzera Shabbat.
So we're saying also that a woman has to do tenufa, just like we said by Shlomim from males?
Yes. Because by the Shlomim, it talks about a man, but not as Gzera Shabbat to say that it applies also to Sota. By Sota, the owner of the korban is the woman. So she does tenufa. So that's how you know. Without the pasuk, without the Gzera Shabbat, you would think by Sota only the Kohen does, and you think by the Shlomim only the owner does. Now you have Gzera Shabbat to tell you that both apply to both. So by Shlomim and also by the Mincha Sota, the Kohen does tenufa, and also the owner does tenufa. And by the woman, by the Sota, the woman is the owner. So she's going to do tenufa together with the Kohen. By Sota it says, look, this pasuk. By Shlomim it says this pasuk. Makan Kohen Naflalan Kohen. Just like by Sota there's a Kohen, like it says the Kohen does tenufa. So Sota by Shlomim the Kohen does tenufa. Ma'alahalan Bailam Afkan Bailam. By the Shlomim it says the owner does it. It's also taught by the Sota. Okay, so how do both of them do tenufa? Kohen Machnes Yad Tachas Yad Bailam U'Meinif. The Kohen puts his hands under the hands of the owner and they do tenufa together.
That's the Shlomim.
Both. He does that.
What's the Kohen going to touch the woman's hand?
So here Taisha talks about that. Taisha has a different problem over here, that maybe it's considered a chatzitza. If there are two people, say maybe it's considered a chatzitza. So Taisha says that doesn't mean that literally that it puts his hand under his hands. That means one holds it by the rim, one holds it by the bottom of the kli. That's how
they're both
holding it. Right. That doesn't mean who's on the bottom, who's on the top. Gemara says here it says that the Bailam is Tachas Yad Machne that the coin's on the bottom and the owner's on the top. But it doesn't mean, this says possibly it doesn't mean that they're touching each other. It means that one is holding the rim and one holds the bottom. If there is also another Taisus talks about this question, that if it's how do they do Tnufa? I think Taisus might say, I think Big Jewish Army maybe that they bring an old Kohen. That it shouldn't be a Kohen who's younger that he would touch the woman's hand. They bring the older Kohen so that there wouldn't be a problem of Hirurim. Ashkechan Sota, Nazira Minolan, Ashkaf Kaf Sota. This person is only good for the Sota. The Lokach Kohen Somara Sota. How do you know about the Zira? She also does Tnufa. Ashkaf Kaf Sota. There's a Gzer Shova that it says it says Rashi probably reads the psukim down to say what the Gzer Shova is. When Asan al Kapeh, here's the pasuk.
What is that?
She should put onto her hands, and also by the Nazir it says when Asan al Kapeh Nazir. So Rashi tells you the two psukim about kaf, and that's Gzer Shova to say just like by Sota is a Tnufa be Bailim, the woman. Also by Nazira is also a Tnufa be Bailim. Adkan. What do we learn? We learned that the women don't do any of the avodas, and even the ones that are limited to Israelim also, that not only Kohanim, not only limited to Kohanim, not Kohenes, Israelim also, the first one we said about Smicha and Tnufa, also there's no mitzvah of Smicha and Tnufa by women. Except for Sota and Nazira. Yashikov, thank you.
What time was the davening this morning?
We didn't get to